The NBA has been around for 76 years. Throughout 3/4 of a century, we've seen a lot happen. We've seen so many great players, great teams, and different storylines develop. We've seen legacies built, we've seen the league go through countless evolutions, we've seen the rise of heroes and villains. Throughout the past 76 years, we've also seen various narratives about players, teams, eras, and play styles develop. Unfortunately, far too many of these narratives are misleading or just flat out wrong. So today, we're going to shed some light on the truth. Today, we're going to deconstruct and expose the misleading and false narratives around the NBA. Now, this first one is a very common one you hear all the time. You mostly hear this typically when a younger basketball fan talks about the competition between players like Michael Jordan, Bill Russell, and Wilt Chamberlain. Apparently, the league was filled with plumbers and mailmen until 2003. And this may very well be true if you say these players are plumbers. Come on now. People really like to discredit the greatness of players because they weren't born in their era. It's really not fair to call these players plumbers. Do you really think Bob Cousy chose to be born in the 20s? Do you really think Wilt Chamberlain chose to be born in the 30s? Do you really think Michael Jordan chose to be born in the 60s? These players dominated the league during their time. Imagine if someone like Bob Cousy had all the modern training and tech that players like LeBron have today. Imagine if Bob Cousy had the weightlifting regimen, the recovery, the technology for shoes and other clothing, and the nutritionists. Not only that, but imagine if Bob Cousy played on all these AAU teams, travel teams, club teams, had personal basketball trainers. Imagine if Bob Cousy played in the modern NBA, where offense is catered to heavily, and he would have unlimited freedom on the court. Just imagine how much more skilled, athletic, durable, and intelligent he would be in today's game. You're really going to tell me Bob Cousy is going to be the exact same player he was in the 60s? You're telling me he's still going to dribble like he plays in the 3rd grade rec league? Bob Cousy is going to be a Kyrie Irving 2.0. Okay, let's flip it around now. Let's put LeBron James in the 60s. First off, LeBron James is not playing for 20 plus years in the league. The super innovative recovery methods and the strength and speed training used in today's game simply wouldn't exist back then, and he's taking way more of a beating without the ticky-tacky calls from the refs. Obviously, yes, LeBron would still dominate, but it wouldn't be in the same way that we're used to seeing LeBron dominate. He wouldn't have had the same freedoms to do virtually whatever he wants to do on the court in the 60s. And we still have plumbers in today's game. They're just slightly more skilled. PJ Tucker, Tony Snell, even Ben Simmons is a 6'10" athletically blessed plumber. Nikola Jokic is built like a plumber. Imagine how much someone like Jokic or Luka Doncic would be called a plumber today if they played in the 70s. This whole calling older players plumbers is really just a lowbrow way to disrespect former greats of the game. Larry Bird is the greatest shooter of all time. Although because of Steph Curry you hear this a lot less nowadays, this couldn't be further from the truth. Okay, but Larry is a top 5 shooter of all time. This would still be wrong. Not only is Larry Bird not even a top 5 shooter of all time, but I can confidently name at least 25 players all time that are better shooters. Don't believe me? Well, stay tuned. Do you see where I'm coming from now? Larry Bird might not be the greatest statistical shooter of all time, but the argument people like to make about him is that Larry Bird is the best clutch shooter of all time. But is this really true? Because of the era Larry Bird played in, there isn't really a lot of advanced clutch shooting data for him, but we do have some of his playoff stats, and they're not what you would expect from an all-time great like Larry Bird. Larry Bird in the playoffs is shooting a career 32.1% from 3. For reference, Patrick Beverley has a way higher playoff three-point shooting percentage at 36.1%. Goran Dragic has a better playoff percentage at 34.5. So does Larry Bird elevate his shooting in the playoffs like everyone else says he does? I guess not. Like we covered before, Larry Bird didn't ask to be born in the 50s and play in the league in the 80s. The game was so much different then. Back then, it was so less common to see three-pointers be shot. Larry Bird didn't have the complete green light to shoot three-pointers like players like Curry and Thompson do in today's game. Not only this, but the league introduced the three-point season in Larry Bird's rookie year. So while current players have had their whole life to perfect their deep ball, Larry Bird had to perfect it during his years in the league, which affected his efficiency. If Larry Bird was raised and played in the modern era, I can guarantee you his percentages and attempts from three would skyrocket up. Larry Bird was really ahead of his time. Almost all of the shooters I said that were better than him played in the last 25 years. Larry Bird was like the Steph Curry of his era. Although compared to today's players, Larry Bird isn't the best shooter. For his era, he was the best. LeBron James is the most hated on and criticized basketball player of all time. There's so many things wrong about LeBron that the media says. Where do we even start? I have a good idea. How about we start with the good old LeBron is soft. This one is always funny to me. You're really gonna tell me that a 6'9", 250-pound freak athlete made of pure steel is soft? LeBron sometimes plays like he's soft to get calls from the refs. I'm pretty sure this is a no-brainer. LeBron is literally helping his team win by acting soft to get his team more possessions and free throws. I think people really like to call him soft because A, it's LeBron James, and B, because what I mentioned before, he's built like a demigod but acts like a teddy bear at times. LeBron catches a lot of the smoke here, but it's not just him. Countless other stars around the league like to act soft to benefit from the officiating. I think it's really a case of don't hate the player, hate the game situation. It's really the officiating's fault that stars around the league play like wusses. The league could end this whenever they wanted to, but they would benefit way more from inflating their superstars, so they won't. So don't blame the stars like LeBron for acting soft to help his team get a few more points. Okay, the next one we're going to talk about is LeBron created super teams. Just take a second and realize how dumb this actually sounds. The Celtics in the 60s were literally the first super team. Throughout that decade, they had 6 players that were at least 5-time All-Stars. Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, John Havlicek, Sam Jones, Tom Heinsohn, and Bill Sharman. From 1957 to 1969, they won 11 championships. If this isn't a super team, I don't know what is. Oh, but they played against 8 other teams. Okay, what about the Showtime Lakers? From the span of 9 years, they won 5 championships with 2 consensus top 10 players of all time, along with other Hall of Famers like Jamal Wilkes and James Worthy. Let's look back at the East with the Celtics again. The Larry Bird Celtics won 3 championships in 6 years, and they literally have a starting lineup full of Hall of Famers. Dennis Johnson and Danny Ainge at the guards, both Hall of Famers. Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish at your big man positions, both Hall of Famers. And Larry Bird, I don't even need to say anything more. Still not current enough for you though? Lucky for us, the Celtics have blessed us with super teams throughout history. The 2008 Boston Celtics, with a big 3 of Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen. You could even say a big 4 with Rondo. Their big 3 were all all-star level players. I don't think it's LeBron's fault that we see super teams in the league. Super teams have happened before LeBron, they'll happen during LeBron, and they'll certainly happen after LeBron. What LeBron really influenced, though, is player empowerment through free agency. LeBron James is a big part of the reason that players aren't staying with the same team for as long, which naturally leads to more super team attempts being assembled. LeBron didn't create super teams, but he influenced player empowerment in the NBA. Okay, the third horrendous take I see people throw out there is that LeBron James is not clutch. People say LeBron James just wasn't born with the same clutch gene that MJ or Kobe had. He just didn't have that same killer instinct. This just sounds like another lame way to discredit LeBron. To prove it wrong, let's look at some clutch shooting data. There's a really good website called Unpredictable that gave us clutch shooting numbers that date back to the 1996 and 97 season. Let's take a look at LeBron's clutch shooting compared to the 2 players his clutch shooting gets compared to the most, Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. Unfortunately for us, because these unique stats began to be tracked in the 1997 season, this means we only have 2 years of MJ from the Bulls and 2 years from the Wizards, so his numbers may not be perfect. This website gives us 4 different types of shots: garbage time shots, which will have a low probability of impacting the game's result; normal time shots, which have an average impact on the results of the game; clutch shots, which is defined as shots that have an elevated impact on the result of the game; and clutch squared, which is defined as shots that are crucial to the game's outcome. Clutch squared are the top 1% of potential win probability impact. So pretty much, they're more important than 99% of shots taken in the game. Obviously, we don't care about the garbage and normal time shots, so let's look at the clutch ones. Let's look at normal clutch shooting first. LeBron James has taken 3,225 clutch shots in his career. Kobe has taken 2,871, and Michael Jordan has taken 676 in his last 4 years in the league. LeBron James actually has the highest percentage of clutch shots at 51.9%. That means he's literally making more clutch shots than he's missing. After LeBron, it's Michael Jordan at 46.2%, and third is Kobe at 44.4%. How about clutch squared though, the top 1% of shots? Over these three legends' entire career, LeBron James has taken 484 top 1% shots, Kobe has taken 529, and Mike has taken 107 in his last 4 years. Kobe slightly edges out the competition with 43.3%. LeBron is second with 42.7%, and MJ is third at 42.5%. No one is really head and shoulders above the competition here. These stats were taken from the regular season and playoffs. But what about just the playoffs, when the real clutch buckets are getting made? Well, LeBron James leads in both clutch and clutch squared shooting. From taking 565 clutch shots and 800 super clutch shots, LeBron has made 53.1% of clutch shots and 43.1% of top 1% shots. Michael Jordan is second in both, with 46.6% clutch shooting and 40.4% clutch squared shooting. And Kobe Bryant is third in both, with 42.2% clutch shooting and 39.4% clutch squared shooting. So, is it really fair to call LeBron James not a clutch shooter? I mean, he has better numbers than MJ and Kobe. I think the real reason why people doubt LeBron's clutch shooting abilities is due to LeBron's playstyle. While MJ and Kobe in crunch time had that give me the damn ball and get the hell out of the way aura about them, LeBron is more willing to give up the ball to a teammate if they have a better shot. While Kobe and MJ would shoot through contests, double and even triple teams, and people calling it killer instinct, LeBron, if he got double teamed, would instantly look to hit the open man, and he gets called not clutch or soft for that. I think that's the main reason that explains the previous numbers. LeBron takes more efficient crunch time shots, while MJ and Kobe take the shot no matter who's in front of their face. The last thing people say about LeBron that totally confuses me is LeBron isn't a good defender. You're really going to tell me that a 6'9", 250-pound physical specimen isn't a good defender? In LeBron's best years athletically, he had a 6-year streak of being on an all-defensive team. From 2009 to 2014, this man did not miss a beat. Maybe he'll have some glimpses during the dog days of the regular season where he's not playing 100% defense. Maybe he's not in full go mode every single second of every game. But trust me, when crunch time comes around, best believe LeBron is playing full lockdown defense. He'll become a defensive animal when it really matters. You don't just average 1.5 steals for 19 straight seasons by being an average or bad defender. And that's all we have for today's video. If this video does well, I'll make a part 2 to this one. So leave me some of your biggest NBA narratives that are wrong or misleading in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to go bet over at BetUS, link in description, and feel free to like and subscribe for more.